Thank you, Mr. Rao, and very warm welcome to all the participants who are attending this webinar session. The topic of today is PGMP certification course overview. So I'll be giving you the overview of the PGMP certification. See, PGMP certification, I'm sure, I think some of you may be knowing about it, that PGMP certification is the credential offered by Project Management Institute, PMI, USA. And PMI also conducts the PMP exam, PMP certification, which is very well and well acknowledged and very sought after certification across the world. So over and above the PMP, now PMI also offers the PGMP certification. PGMP certification is all about program management. What got us here won't take us there. I think this is something general, we all understand. I personally feel that that is one of the reasons you are all here. You are all professionals, you have been working. I'm sure, I think you might have done some certification also. I'm not too sure, but I have a hunch that many of you would be PMP also, right? So you have come to a certain level in your career, but what got you here will not take you further until you continue to hone your skills, right? So this is also in one step. PGMP certification is one step in that direction. Now let's understand about the business transformations. See, it is not necessarily what organizations do, but how they do today makes them successful and establishes their competitive edge. That's becoming very important. Big complex business transformations in infrastructure and IT programs promise a lot of value, but they often fail to deliver. Why I'm saying is that maybe that the project is complete, maybe the scope is complete, but have the end user got the value? Have the stakeholders got the value? Not very sure. And this is quite evident actually everywhere, especially in the the government projects we see all over. Program management is about reaping the benefits of change. So when we speak about program management, it is about actually getting the benefits of the change. Now, transformational program management is concerned with the different levels of management required to deliver a group of activities, projects, sub-programs in order to meet specific objectives. We will discuss about it because transformational program management is about coordination of the projects and the sub-programs. Now, we all know that projects fundamentally are catalysts for the change. There would be some change expected when we finish the projects. And especially after Y2K in the last 2 decades, right? The project management has been well accepted as a science, as an art in most of the industries, right? And in some way or other, almost all the industries are actually have acquired the project management skills. But then how do we drive innovation at the speed of the business? Because we all know that the transformation is happening very fast, wherein the go-to-market time, business intricacies, competitive turbulence, shortage of resources, change and increase customer expectations, and greater adaptability is becoming a norm rather, and has really put a lot of pressure on the today's organizations, because everything is becoming so competitive that the people have to roll out their products very fast, match with the competitive requirements. Can we not relate it to the very competitive and fierce competition which is happening in the telecom sector today? Isn't it? In the last 6, 7, 8 months, when the Jio has come, it has really disrupted the telecom environment. So the incumbent service providers have to also respond to that. How do we drive these innovation at the speed of the business? So transformation, therefore, is now crucial, requiring a fundamental shift in the strategies, processes, and leadership. All global leaders have no choice but to advance and adopt program and portfolio management best practices to maintain a strong competitive position in the marketplace. So they have to think beyond the conventional project management. Numerous organizations comprehend this in theory. Inability to successfully, however, apply this program management to strategic change is tragically common. Not many people, not many organizations have successfully delivered the benefits to the last stakeholders. So, in nutshell, they must move past the traditional confines of technical project management in order to deliver new high levels of enterprise agility and the business value. You see, there is a few words which are being repeated very often, and you will see it in my subsequent slides also. Business value, benefits, and that's what the program management is for. What is fundamentally a program? See, I'm taking few slides to introduce the program and the program management. What is program? A group of related projects, sub-programs, and program activities managed in a coordinated way to obtain financial and competitive benefits which are otherwise not available from managing them individually. There may be few projects. If you handle them individually, yes, the projects will get completed. But is the organization in a position to reap the benefits? Is the business value given to the stakeholders? Have we got some cost benefits? Have we utilized the resources properly? May not be. Have we achieved the common goal? For example, if you have to launch a satellite, in the past 1 year or couple of years, ISRO has been very active in launching one thing or other, right? We are hearing every month or two there is something or other, a new product which is being launched by the ISRO. Suppose there is a satellite to be launched. Now, satellite we all know requires making of a satellite as a product, making of an Earth station, making of a satellite launching vehicle, making of a satellite monitoring center. Now, all these projects, isn't it, they are related projects? They can be done individually. They may be done individually by the individual project managers. Some different outsourcing agency also may be involved in different projects, all these projects, related projects. But if they are coordinated together, you will get certain benefits. You will achieve the common goal with a cost benefit analysis, right? There will be some interdependencies between these projects. There will be some risks which are not at the project level, but at a higher level. There will be some collective communication. There will be some comprehensive stakeholder engagement which needs to be done, which apart from individual project managers who are doing their individual jobs, a program manager has to do that. So a program management is actually the coordination of related projects to achieve common goals as well as to attain certain benefits. So projects within the programs are related. Mind you, this is not that there are some 5, 6, 8, 10 projects are there and somebody is managing these projects, but their projects are not related. If these projects are not related, then they are not treated as program. This is just only a administration of 8, 10 projects which are not related. That is a separate thing. That may be a senior project manager can do that. There may be some complexity, but it is understand that project versus program, project and program are two different animals. Do not underestimate the gap. While project management is all about, I'm sure you must be knowing about completing the scope within schedule, within budget, and meeting the quality requirements of the stakeholders. But program management is realization of benefits. Will initiate close multiple projects to realize benefits and manages the dependencies and conflicts between the projects, as I have just explained it to you, right? So project management is like juggling three balls. You know, triple constraint: time, cost, and quality, as well as scope we need to complete. So triple constraints are scope, time, and cost, and within central is quality. Program management is like a troupe of circus performers standing in a circle, each juggling three balls and swapping balls from time to time. So the complexity for the program management manager is much more than the project manager. Uncertainties are much more higher than the project manager. It is not that the project manager does not have the uncertainties, but the program level uncertainties are higher than the project levels. You know, let me explain you some fundamentals. For any organization group has got certain values. They stand by the value systems, and within that values, within the boundary of those values, there is some vision which is created by the top management. And after the vision, there will be some mission. Mission actually gives you the direction. Mission may have some measurable goals and objectives, and this mission will lead to some alternative strategies, and these organization strategies are then completed by and implemented by portfolio, program, or project. So in what way the organization achieves its organization strategy? By a combination of program, portfolio, and projects. It may be done only by projects. It may be done by programs and projects. It may be done as a portfolio management, right? But the role of portfolio manager and the role of program manager and the project manager are different. They all contribute to the organization strategy and the mission, but the way they contribute is different. While project management is all about doing the things right, doing the things in a right way, completing the scope within given time and budget and as per the quality requirements. However, the portfolio management is about doing the right things at the first place. So the uncertainty level with the portfolio manager is much higher because he has to choose that what is the right path, which project has to start and which project has to be killed, has to be terminated in between, because he is the custodian of the investments which the organization is investing in. Right? He is the gatekeeper of the investments. So he is taking care of the strategic objectives, while the linkage between project and the portfolio is through program management, because program managers actually delivers the benefits. To repeat it again, project manager focus is on completing the scope. Program manager's focus is on giving the benefits. It might be that the project is completed, but the program is unsuccessful, right? It is like patient dies, but the operation is successful, right? So what is of use if the patient dies and we can say that the operation is successful, scope is completed, right? So ultimately, program manager is about program management takes care about the transition of benefits, sustainment of the benefits also, right? So it has program manager will take care of the aggregate scope of the different projects under that, and time to time the projects will get completed, but ultimate benefits have to be delivered to the stakeholders for the purpose for which this program was undertaken, and that is a responsibility of the program manager, right? So that's where you see that on top, portfolio management is about strategic, program management is about giving the stakeholder value, and project management is about delivering the quality products. So you must have got now an idea and differentiation between what is project and what is program and what is portfolio and how they contribute it to delivering the ultimate organization strategy. See, from the portfolio, the goals and objectives are driven down to the program and the project. And the project goals and objectives are aligned with the portfolio. So the driving down and the alignment has to happen simultaneously. If the alignment is not proper, that will lead to actually something which is done and which is of no use for the stakeholders. So now, what is program management? Program management is application of program management knowledge using tools and techniques and using the program manager's own interpersonal and management skills. So as it is written, if you can see now, program management is the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to a program. Ultimately, what is it about? To meet the program goals, to obtain benefits and control not available by managing projects individually. Maybe there is a centralized procurement. Maybe there is a sharing of resources, and resources, when I say, not only about the human resource, but man, material, machine, right? So those benefits and control may be available while coordinating between the different projects. Oversight and strategic alignment involved in program management makes it far larger and more complex an effort than project management. Because program manager, as a program manager, he has to ensure that the strategic alignment remains always there, and he has to oversee different projects. It is not, please do understand that it is not that the program manager is going to do the job of the project manager. Project manager is going to do his job, but interdependencies, coordination, overseeing, governance, that is the job of the program managers. Program management is applied as a form of strategic implementation and execution, something that is deeply ingrained in the organization rather than an isolated effort. Because program management and the programs generally are ingrained in the organization. The way the organization reacts, the way the organization executes, and the benefits which are reaped, they actually go for a very long time. They are not temporary. They may last for a very long time. And as I said, a benefit, which is a key word for the program management, benefit is an outcome of the products, service, or results that provide utility to the sponsoring organization as well as intended beneficiaries and the stakeholders. So ISRO, if he launches a satellite, it may be of a benefit for the remote sensing, for the communication, for navigation, whosoever is going to be the beneficiary. Right? If those benefits are not there, then I mean, we would say that yes, scope is completed, launched, but probably the signal strength is not there. Technologically, it is weaker. So somehow we have not got the benefits which were intended for. Right? So in doing the program management, it is a duty of the program manager to ensure that whatever benefits were intended to be there for the beneficiary is provided to them, and they make use of that. So in doing so, if he has to add any scope, if he has to change any technology, right, be it because the focus is on benefits. Focus is not just only mere completion of the scope of the individual projects. So provides business value and may be realized incrementally or all at once at the end of the program. For example, all at once, I have given you this example of a satellite, right? These benefits are going to be realized when all these related projects are completed. But suppose you are implementing ERP or CRM in an organization, right? The different modules are there, whether it's a SD module or finance module or a MM module or the CRM, right? Those benefits can be realized incrementally also. As and when individual benefits, individual modules are completed, though it may not have still the integrated view, But yes, as and when these modules are completed, we will not hold it for completion of others, and we will roll it out. So that's maybe realized incrementally. Now, if you see wheel of the program management leadership, it's an interesting slide because program management is dependent on 5 pillars, and 5 pillars are strategy alignment, benefits management, stakeholder management, governance, and project management life cycle. See, the PGMP certification, the way the PMI has made the framework, they have made the framework around these 5 domains: strategy, benefits, stakeholder, governance, and project management life cycle. And we will study these in detail, right, in our course session. But as of now, I will give you sort of an overview what is these 5 pillars are and what is these 5 domains are. But to carry out these, especially cross-cutting knowledge is needed, which is basically cutting across all the 5 domains. But specific knowledge and specific skills are also required for contributing to the different domains. And you can see it on your screen: decision making, emotional intelligence, business ethics, motivational techniques, leadership, communication, negotiation, risk management, presentation techniques, project management information, knowledge about the project management information systems is all very much required for carrying out the program management. Okay, on your right hand side, I thought that just let me include this because this is also related to the skills, right? I have not picked it up directly from the PGMP PMI framework, but its actually source is World Economic Forum study is there. You can see that in 2015, the 10 skills which are in top demand, right? Some of these are there, but some of these are not there. But 2020, right, the skills which are going to be in demand: complex problem solving remains on number 1. Coordinating with others, which was number 2, has come out to is going to be number 5. People management, almost more or less same. People management is very important, number 3 to number 4. Critical thinking from number 4 to number 2 it has gone. And negotiation has come from number 5 to number 9. Quality control, if you see, quality control is not there in 2020 as a top skill. Probably I think this is something which is going to be ingrained in us, right? Quality, it's very obvious that without quality we may not be able to move ahead, right? But quality control is something going to be ingrained. Service orientation is almost at the same level. Judgment and decision making has also remained at the same level. Active listening, which was there in number 9, is not there. It has just vanished. It has gone out. Once again, something which is taken for granted, implicit. Creativity is something, you see, has gone from number 10 to number 3. So innovation, creativity, that's the key skill which is going to be very important by 2020. This is just additional information. Now, as I explained to you, portfolio is at the top. Under the portfolio, there are programs, and under the program, there are projects, related projects. So strategic vision has got then mission, organization strategy, strategic alternatives, and then the portfolio. And portfolio, under that, he has got the programs, and portfolio, you know, is a combination of programs and the projects and some of the operation work also. By the way, we all know that project has got a time which the project has to get completed. Even program also has got the times. It is not definitely the program timelines is more than the projects, because it's an aggregate timelines of all the individual projects. and until the benefits are transitioned and being sustained, right? The project's program is going to be there, but portfolio does not have really the timelines, right? It may go on, it may create certain new program and new projects until the strategic objectives are complete, right? So one of the metro line can be a program, but until the, I mean, the traffic problems of Delhi NCR, right, maybe resolved by ongoing basis, new sort of a new programs and new projects may come up, right? And under the program, you see, as I said, 5 domains. So strategy, benefits, life cycle, stakeholder engagement, and governance. And life cycle, program life cycle has got definition of the program. We will discuss this. We will actually explain this further in the subsequent slides, the delivery and the closure. And under the delivery, sub programs, projects, and some other programs, they need to be delivered. Correct. So we, for the moment, I think just understand that portfolio at the top, then the program, and then the projects. So 5 domains, once again: strategy, benefits, governance, stakeholder management, and program management life cycle. What are they? What are they? Brief two-liners for domains. What is strategy alignment? Strategy alignment is to identify the opportunities and benefits for achieving organization objectives through program implementation. So the organization strategy has to be implemented through programs. Now, what is going to be the business case? Is the program viable, not viable? So program mandate will be there, and then program charter will be there, and program charter will be approved by the governance board to say that yes, this program definitely needs to be implemented. So and so is going to be the program manager, and this is what his authority levels are there. Many of you would have read PMBOK. Many of you would have cleared PMP also, right? They would know about the project charter. So program charter is on the similar line, but then this is about the program, right? So strategy alignment. Strategy alignment with the mission and vision of the organization. And governance, to make processes and procedures for maintaining program management oversight and decision support for applicable policies and practices. So throughout the project life cycle, and before the project life cycle, before the the program is initiated, the mandate, the approvals, the roadmap, that's also a part of the governance. Make the policy procedures, ensure that the risks and issues are understood and addressed, ensure that the project quality standards are explained to them, they follow the quality assurance and quality control processes, ensure that the change management processes are in place, ensure that any new changes or any new benefit which is going to be useful for the ultimate project program benefits is entertained and put further to the governance board for approvals. So this is all the job of the governance. And program life cycle management includes program definition, benefits delivery, and program closure. So its program life cycle is all about all the activities which needs to be done to initiate the program, to plan the program, to deliver the benefits, to do the transition, and to do the sustainment of the benefits. So all the activities which you do it on ground is covered in the life cycle management. And program stakeholder engagement, we all know now that stakeholder management is how important it is. And for the program, it becomes more important than even for the projects, because there may be some stakeholders from the project side, but there may be many stakeholders who are over and above different stakeholders, different stakeholders of the different respective projects, right? So we need to garner support from them. We need to decrease the negativities to ensure that there is a proper adaptability, to ensure that they accept this change. So that is about stakeholder engagement. And benefits management. And benefits management is, first of all, identify the benefits, analyze and plan the benefits, analyze those benefits, plan, make a benefit realization plan, right? How are they going to be delivered? How are they going to be delivered through individual projects? Benefits delivery, monitor the interdependencies between projects and ensure how these outputs contribute to the program's benefits. So maintain the benefit register and report to the stakeholders on the regular basis. So delivery of the benefits is more done by the individual projects, but you need to oversee that. You need to see that the scope which is getting completed is in line with the ultimate benefits realization which the organization is planning to deliver. And benefits transition, consolidate those benefits and transfer the ongoing responsibility to the operations team. Keep the alignment of expected benefits with organization's goals and objectives, right? And benefit sustainment, it is not only the transition, it's not only giving them the contracts, giving them the trainings, giving them some hand holding, but later on when the team is gone, when the resources are gone, how the operations team is going to sustain it, how this becomes a way of life in the organization, how is it going to be the what about the annual maintenance contracts, warranty supports, etc., how the future operations are going to be monitored and controlled, whom are they going to approach, how are they going to be escalated. So all that is part of the sustainment. See, all these 5 domains, once again, strategy, benefits management, stakeholder governance, and life cycle management are iterative, project life cycle. It is not that initially program approval is given and that's the strategy job is over. Throughout the program manager needs to ensure that the benefits are going to be realized and it is in line with the program's goals and objectives. And it is in line with the expectations of the stakeholders. Governance process, once again, starting from the beginning, from the go ahead, from the approval, right till the end. Whether the expected benefits are transitioned and are being sustained, risks and issues are being addressed to. So they are being, it is throughout. And stakeholder, we all know, stakeholder engagement and stakeholder management is also throughout. It is not one time. It is not that one time we have to identify the stakeholder and the job is over, right? It is throughout. We have to identify the stakeholders from time to time, right? There will maybe new stakeholders. We have to see that the positivities increases and the negativities decreases. Similarly, benefits management, because program managers, once again, focus is on management of the benefits. Ultimately, the purpose for which this program is initiated. They will realize these benefits through the implementations and through the completion of the scope of the individual projects. But then they will also oversee that if some project is not contributing at all, and it is proving to be unnecessarily that the benefits are not getting aligned with the ultimate benefits, or maybe the circumstances have changed, maybe the environment has changed. When we thought then this project was actually useful, but because of the technology changes, because of the environmental changes, these project need not be done. So it may have to be killed, or some projects needs to be prioritized. The priority needs to be changed. So that is the job of the program manager who is overseeing these. And program life cycle phases, as I said, program definition. What is program definition? Program definition is about organization plan to fulfill strategic objectives and define the expected program outcomes and seeks its approval. So it is in the beginning of the program. Make the business case, get it mandated, make a program charter and get it approved. So that is, and after the project charter, you know what is their plan, management plan. So similarly, we have got program charter, and after the program charter, program management plan. So till starting from mandate till program management plan, it is program definition. And it has got, by the way, two sub phases as it is given below: program formulation and program preparation. And as you can see, program formulation is about business case, program plan. Program plan is, by the way, not the program management plan. Program plan is about program charter and program roadmap. And program preparation is about the second subphase. Program preparation explains about program management plan and making a infrastructure plan, the technical infrastructure what we need, PMO if we need to implement some technology, some tools like Microsoft Project or Primavera type of a tools we need to implement it, right? So these are the two sub phases. And after the definition, program benefits delivery. And benefits delivery, once again, it is re-emphasized that it is about component planning. What is component in the program? Component is the projects. These projects are called components or a sub program. So projects planning, project oversight and integration, and project transition and closure. So project may get transitioned and closed, but the benefits may not be still realized fully. Projects may get closed, but program will not get closed until the benefits are transitioned and sustained. And finally, program closure. Program closure is about program transition and program closure, which is about financial closure, administrative closure, contractual closure. That's about program closure. So this is in pictorial way, it is given very nicely. You can see that business strategy is in the middle and strategic objectives are defined, and using the business strategy, benefits realization is towards the end, obviously. And strategic objective passes through program definition, which has got program formulation and program preparation. And then they are delivered, benefits are delivered through program components: planning and execution of the component, oversight and integration of the component, and transition and closure of the component. And then the program closure, program transition and program closure. Below this, you can see that under the program definition, under the benefits management, benefits identification and benefit analysis and planning is still program definition. But in the benefits delivery is in the program life cycle in the middle for the deliveries, and the benefits transition and benefit sustainment is actually on the program transition and the program closeout. So it is just only the life cycle is actually transitioned to the benefits. So benefits are identified and analyzed and planned in the program definition phase of the life cycle. Benefits delivery is done in the program delivery phase, and transitioning and sustainment is done in the program closeout phase. And you can see that throughout the program life cycle, program governance is there, and which can be achieved through risk management, change management, and ensuring the quality. So this is a top view of the program life cycle. See, if you some of you may be able to recall about the knowledge areas and the processes in the PMP, right? There are 5 process groups and 10 knowledge areas in the 5th edition, total of 47 processes. So similar to that, the life cycle is divided into 35 processes or activities, what they call, right? And these are the reference location. Like project integration, we have here program integration, program scope management, program schedule management, financial management, quality management, resource management, communications management, risk management, and procurement management. And since we have just studied that life cycle is divided into three phases: program definition, which is further subdivided, into formulation and definition; program benefits delivery; and program closure. And program closure, we know it is further subdivided into transition and sustainment. So each of these knowledge areas or reference locations will have these processes and activities, right? And this is the framework of the PGMP certification offered by the PMI. So like some of you must have studied the PMBOK. In a similar way, many of the things, let me tell you, if you opt for the PGMP certification, many of the things may be taken from the PMBOK. So the people who have read the PMBOK, for them it becomes easier. But that does not mean that it is must or it is essential to read the PMBOK, because for the PGMP certifications, you need not be PMP. But I must add it that people who have done PMP and have got more number of years of experience, they would find it easier rather than to go for the PGMP. Fine. So this is the way the actually sessions are going to be divided, because these are going to be 2-hour session, right? 2-hour session, and the total of 13 sessions are going to be there. So I will just take you to through these 13 slides quickly, that what is actually there in these 13 sessions. So far, we have just actually gone through what is program management, how this is different from the project management, how the portfolio program management and the project management are related to each other, and how they need to be aligned with the organization strategy, mission, and vision, right? And what are the 3 phases of the program management life cycle, and prior to that, what are the 5 domains, which are the 5 pillars, and what is the actually significance and meaning of these 5 pillars, and what are the how this PGMP certification, PGMP courses framework is divided by PMI into 35 processes, right? So we will go, we see in the first session, 2-hour session, we will be discussing in more detail, right, about the overview of the program management. As you now very well know, that program management is about managing several related projects, right? And session will discuss about the project, program, portfolio management, and alignment with organization strategy. Some of the slides which you have seen it now may get repeated in this first session. But then over and above, roles and skills requirement for the program management manager, domain definitions and their interactions, and learning outcome is going to be how program management is different from project management and its focus on realizing benefits for the organization. Second session will be actually discussing in further detail about the strategy alignment, right? Strategy alignment in the sense emerging out opportunities, expected benefits to create business value, right? How for achieving organization objectives through the program implementation, because strategy, what is strategy? How is it different from the tactical project management? For the project management manager, the skills required are more tactical. However, for the program and the portfolio manager, strategical thinking, strategy alignment is very, very important, right? What is strategy ultimately? What is strategy? Strategy is long-term, uncertainty. Strategy is actually about our relationship with the consequences, which we may not know at this moment of time, which we may actually try to analyze given the problem, given the present situation, given the present environment, and then predict that this is what probably we will be coming out. This is how it will be realized, right? Not that the full certainty is there. immediately. Maybe across, when we go along the program, we may get more and more ideas, right? And then we may have to sort of do the progressive elaboration through change management, and those changes are actually for the good. It is not that only you are adding some burden on you or adding some additionally scope, but how well you are going to be realizing the benefits. So strategy alignment will discuss about making of a business case, program mandate by the top management, program charter, program roadmap, and these are, you will understand about broader cash flow analysis about NPV, net present value, internal rate of return, return on investment, payback period. What are these terms, right? Sequential representations of the program intended direction in the form of a program roadmap, right? So all these things we will be discussing in further detail in the strategy alignment section on the session 2. Session 3 will actually cover about the third pillar, sort of in a way second pillar, program benefits management. As again I repeat, program is about managing the benefits, realizing the benefits, ensuring that the benefits are sustained in the organization. So it's about, we will discuss about identifying which are the important needs and expectations of the stakeholders. What are the benefits which we are going to be delivering, right? Does it, is it a case, does it merit to invest so much in realization of the benefits? Is it the need of the hour, right? And then we go ahead in making a benefit realization plan, and then we go ahead in delivering those benefits by means of overseeing the components of the component projects. Then we transition these benefits, then we sustain these benefits as I've just explained. So we will discuss these in further more detail, and the learning outcome is going to be once again identifying the benefits, not only identifying but prioritizing the projects and the program, and monitor the interdependencies and communication to stakeholders, and then smooth transition to operations as well as sustainment of benefits. So the third session is going to be all around benefits. Then all very important program stakeholder engagement, and you know that, see, program is often for the bigger projects, bigger complex initiatives of the organizations, and which may involve stakeholders of all type, which may be resistant to adopt, right, or which may be leading and which may be ensuring that this program is successful. So in a way, we need to increase the positivities and decrease the negativities. Ultimately, we need to understand about their motives, agendas, sometimes the hidden agendas, right, and map them to stakeholder registers, right? So we will discuss about identification of the stakeholders, stakeholder planning, engagement, and then techniques for stakeholder analysis. What are the different techniques? Some of you might have read this earlier: power interest grid, power influence grid, power involvement grid, salience model, right? So in a way, categorize the stakeholders, identifying them, right, and understand their needs and expectations, and throughout the program life cycle, engage with them, manage them. So this will be the focus of session 4. Then program governance, because program governance is very important. Governance of the program are not easy task, they are complex, right? So there will be a governance body, there will be, which may be called as a steering committee or board of directors for the programs, right? So portfolio managers may be involved in that. And what we'll discuss is what are the governance board roles and responsibilities, how the governance is going to be related to the actual program management, risk, issues, quality, all needs to be aligned with the governance processes and procedures. Governance of the program components. Governance of the program components will be actually done by the program manager also, right? So program manager will be a senior member, will be a sponsor rather for the projects. Other governance activities for supporting projects, programs, we'll be doing some exercise. Learning outcomes, significance of the effective governance, requirements of the varied experience in governance board setting systems, setting up of PMOs, handling escalations, risk audits, role of PMOs in aiding governance and making processes and procedures. I'm sure, I think everybody must be knowing about the PMO, but we might have studied about the project management office, but this is program management office. As I said, program manager need not go into too much detail into each and every project. That is the job of the project manager. But somebody who is overseeing the different projects, resolving their issues, escalations, risks, right? So program management office will be supporting the program manager. So this will be the focus of session 5. Then the activities which we'll be doing through 35 processes, which we have just gone through, right? And these 35 processes, by the way, are integrated in nature. They are not in isolation. As you might be knowing or remembering about the project processes. Project processes have relationship with each other. They are iterated, right? Dependence on each other. If the scope is changed, it will have an impact on resources. It may have impact on cost. It may have impact on the timelines, right? So as a project manager, you need to balance the constraints. As a program manager also, you need to take care and balance these constraints, right? So at the same time, your focus remains also on the benefits. So we will discuss in the program life cycle about the program initiation, about making of a program management plan, development of the infrastructure needed for smooth conduct and smooth program management, including setting up of PMO, right? Program delivery management through projects, program performance monitoring and control, right? Of interdependencies, of risks, of the quality control, of the scope of the different projects at a higher level, program transition and sustainment. And you see, as you read it, understand how a program is an integrated entity. It's not that these things are going to be discussed in total isolation. Pre-program setup, business case, program charter, appointment and authorization of program manager, and how program management plan is an optimized result of different subsidiary plans of scope, time, cost, schedule, quality, and how external environments and emerging scenarios can result in changes. You see, can you see that and notice how external environments and emerging scenarios can result in changes to the program management plan? Something which you have not seen, that something which you have not thought of, but emerging scenarios may force you that this is something better, this is a new need, right? Why not adopt it for better adoption of the benefits? How program delivery will get transitioned into operations and what is required in sustainment of benefits. So a complete integrated view of life cycle supporting processes. And we will now onwards, after some 7th session, discussing about the each of these knowledge areas, scope and schedule management. We will discuss in session 7, which will give you about the overall scope of the program, right? And overall master schedule of the program, which will have the critical activities from different projects. So scope we will discuss about the scope planning, scope control. We will discuss about the schedule management, schedule planning, making of a master schedule, and critical path. See, this is going to be quite similar to what we have studied in the project management also. And learning outcomes will be understand the requirements collection, understand the product and the program scope. By the way, program scope, it is different from the project scope. But program scope, which is the overall aggregated scope, program WBS, some activities which you do it at the program level, not at the only at the project level. Reasons for origination of typical change request, understanding the effect of scope changes of one project onto another. See, within the project, these changes can be taken care by the project manager. But then some changes coming out of one project will have impact on other projects. So understanding that critical path, critical chain, what if scenario, Monte Carlo analysis, resource leveling, resource smoothing, all these things we will discuss in the session 7 of our course. Then financial management. Financial management will include the activities which are involved in identifying the program's financial sources, funds availability, sources of funds, and the funds flow time to time, integrated the budgets of program components and controlling costs throughout the duration of both components and the program. So we will need to take care of the funds flow, funds requirement of the projects also. So we will need to arrange for those funds. We will need to see that which are those optimal and alternative and cheaper funds sources. We need to tap those. We need to understand the funds flow, payment schedules, contract schedules. We will discuss about the financial framework establishment, cost budgeting, which is the aggregation of the financial requirements and the budgets of the component projects. Financial control we will see, and we will discuss the earned value management. So many of these things I think you might have heard also and might have read also. Fund sources and funding models we will discuss, funds flow, initial budget, funding schedules and milestones, contract payments and schedules, which is going to be the financial metrics, baseline budget, component cost estimation and aggregation, and earned value management. And then as a result of earned value management, forecasting of the new budget, the money which is required, additional money which is required. So this was session 8. Then going forward, session 9, we will discuss about the quality aspects. And then in the quality, we will discuss about the quality policies, quality objectives, responsibilities, and how to implement these policies and procedures with continuous improvement. Ensure that all required resources are made available to the project manager. And we will discuss quality management in the sense planning for the quality, including planning for the component project quality plans, giving them the standards, matrices, quality assurance. You need to see that the work which is being done, the quality parameters and the quality specifications achieved by the quality by the projects are in line with the benefits expectations, right? So that needs to be ensured. We need to ensure that the quality is controlled, and we will discuss different tools like root and cause diagram, like Fishbone, Ishikawa, flow charts, control charts, check sheets, right? And the Pareto chart, and the histograms, and the PDPC and FMEA, right? All these are the normal basic quality tools. We will discuss it. Apart from that, the importance and significance of quality audits, process improvement plan, quality metrics, quality checklist. All this thing we will discuss in the quality management session of the session 9 of the course. Then in the 10th session, we will discuss about the communications and the resource management. You know, communication is very important, and communication needs to be 360-degree for the program manager, to the project managers, to the program team, to the suppliers, to the contractors, to the senior management, to the client. So the different type of communications, requirement analysis of the stakeholders, then the different methods of communication, communication model, we will discuss in the communication. And as per the processes, communication has got 3 processes as per the life cycle: communication planning, information distribution, and program performance reporting. Rather, it's program performance reporting rather. And we will also discuss about the resource management. You remember some of you who have studied and done the PMP in the project management, it was human resource plan and acquire the project team and develop the project team and manage the project team. Now, here in the program management, it's not only about the human resource, it's about all type of resources, which is then we will plan for the resources, we will prioritize the resources, and we will manage their interdependencies to get the benefits, to realize the cost benefits, right? So resource interdependencies needs to be taken care. And what we are going to learn, as I told you, communication requirement analysis, communication methods, technology, whether the technology needs to be incorporated depending upon the duration of the program. And by the way, programs are quite often long duration programs. They are not like projects, small duration. They are often long duration. So the use of technology needs to be there, whether it is in the form of a PPM tool, or it is in the form of some video conferencing, or deployment of ERP, CRMs, etc. Right? Communication model, requirement of communication channels, strategy, different information distribution ways, knowledge management, lessons learned, documentation, archiving of the records. So all this will be covered in the communications session. As far as resources are concerned, we'll discuss about the resource provisioning, resource histogram, resource usage guidelines, resource optimization, and their roles and responsibilities. So this is all we will cover in the session 10. And then we will move on to the session 11. And session 11, we will discuss about risk management. And you see, this is risk management is quite similar to what is there in the project risk management, but then at a higher level. It's not, as I told you, it is not that each and every risk management is being done by a program manager for the projects, but interdependencies will lead to risks, will lead to different type of risks. Some of the risks which are at a higher levels, which are impacting all the projects. So those projects are going to be financial risks, are going to be there, resource crunch risks can be there, technology risks can be there, changing environment risks can be there, adaptability can be there, right? So different type of risks will needs to be taken care by the program program manager in a way. How this needs to be carried out, what is going to be the approach, so that is going to be discussed in the risk management planning. Then all these risks which we have just touched upon will be identified. What are the different techniques, tools to identify? How do you analyze them? How do you prioritize them? What is going to be the qualitative analysis, quantitative analysis? How are you going to respond to these risks, right? How are you going to control these risks from complete program life cycle? So we will discuss about the risk tolerance, risk threshold, probability and impact definition, and PI metrics, tracking of risk, SWOT analysis, different information gathering techniques in identification of the risks, assumptions analysis, qualitative and quantitative analysis, EMV, sensitivity analysis as a tool, different response strategies, risk audits, significance of those, risk reassessment, residual and secondary risk. So some of you who have done the and read the PMBOK, you might be familiar of many of these things, but then some of you who have not, right, these will be new things for you, but definitely will be very useful for handling a program. Session 12 will be taking care of the procurement management, and procurement management very often in the program management context, it may be centralized to reap the benefits of better negotiations and better negotiations, and taking certain volume discounts from the vendors and from the suppliers, right? So we will discuss about procurement planning, program procurement, procurement administration, and procurement closure, and which will include as a learning outcome, make or buy decisions, centralized purchase and optimization of the program, different type of contracts like fixed price contract, fixed price with economic price adjustment, fixed price with incentive, cost reimbursable contract with fixed fee, cost reimbursable contract with incentive, cost reimbursable contracts with percentage of the profit, percentage of the cost, right? Time and material contract, RFP, RFQ, bidder conference, proposal evaluation, contract administration, claims administration, performance reviews, negotiated settlements. All these things, topics we will discuss in the procurement management section, session 12 of our course. And then you see that if you have seen these my sessions from 7 to 12, these are actually covering the knowledge areas of the program lifecycle, covering the 35 processes divided into these 7 sessions. So finally, by this time, I think you would have got a fair idea about what exactly is this course is going to be about, what is the significance in today's world about the program management, right? I am very sure and very convinced that people who are handling complex projects, major projects, for them, this is going to be more of a structured approach they will learn, right? So this is going to be very useful for them in handling the larger programs. And then at the end, definitely from the exam perspective, because our one aim is definitely going to be helping you clear the PGMP exam, right? So we will discuss about the PGMP certification requirements, eligibility criteria, panel review requirements, some scenario, exam tips, preparation strategy. So we will go through the certification journey, eligibility criteria, panel review, and test taking strategy. So this is going to be covered in session 13. However, those of you who are going to be now getting interested, right, and want to know a little bit more about what is the PGMP all about, see these course deliverables. We will give you a session slide handouts book. Whatever the slides we will be covering in these sessions, 13 sessions, that will be given to you as a hard copy. That will be sent to you in the soft copy. PDF file will be sent it to you. We will be also giving you 200 end of module test questions, right? Because each session will have certain test questions also, which will be subjecting it to during the session. We'll be doing those and discussing those question answers related to exam. We will be giving you PDF files of the wall process charts, which will be handy for you to remember different processes. And then we will also give you, by the way, 170 mock simulation test. So this is actually a mock simulation which actually is a real-time scenario of PGMP exam, right? To give you the look and feel and to give you the full scenario. So these 170 mock questions will be additional questions which will be given after the end of the course. And we will offer you the 24 PDU certificate, 24 PDU certification. 24 PDUs are going to be divided into 4 PDUs for technical, 4 PDUs for leadership, and 16 PDUs covering strategic. Because the program management is quite a lot about strategic alignment, strategic implementation, and ensuring that the benefits are delivered. Then we will give you the sample PGMP application, how to fill up the application. That will be assistant to you, support to you, and there will be a separate sort of a desk to help you go through the exam application. See, exam application is very different in program management, PGMP, than the project management. Project management exam application was rather simple. There you did just had to mention about what did you do in around 500 words, what did you do in initiation, then planning, execution, monitoring and control, and closure of the project. But here in the program management, PGMP application is very sort of detailed. They give you 5 questions, and 5 questions will be coming from individual 5 domains: strategy, benefits, governance, stakeholder, and life cycle. Each of these 5 questions you need to actually explain in almost 3,000 words. So it will be a 1.5 page, that what did you do, so in ensuring that the program is strategically aligned throughout the program. What did you do? How did you gain the support of the stakeholders? How did you ensure that the governance process is aligned and the risks and issues are managed? So there are certain 5 set of questions. They have the option A and option B to choose from. Each question, each domain will have 2 questions. So you have to choose one of those questions and explain in 3,000 words the question. And this application will go to a panel, by the way. This application go to a panel of 4 or 5 people, right? And this application, by the way, these panel will not come to know about whose application is this, right? From which location and what's the name, etc. PMI will remove those, your name and membership number, etc. And it will be just forwarded to the panel, and panel will study, and panel may come back to you, may reject this application. So application review is very important in PGMP, because if you fail in panel review, that's a forfeit of a substantial amount of around $300, because you have already paid for that, and after that there is a panel review. And if you by some chance or by some misjudgment, right, you have not cleared that, so it's the panel review fee is forfeited, right? So one needs to ensure that it is filled properly, it is sent to us, right? And then we will review that, we will give you certain suggestions how your chances of panel review gets increased, right? And training is definitely given by the industry people who have got the real-time experience in the industry. Workshop benefits: gain better understanding of project program portfolio management, understand the science and art of delivering organization strategy with project program and portfolio management, learn key practical application tools, techniques, and best practices, learn program lifecycle, and unlock the value of program strategy alignment, benefits management, governance, and stakeholder engagement, and understand the critical success factors of project program management, including establishment of program management office. So these are going to be certain benefits you will get. You will get a full idea about the program management. You will really internalize those different tools and techniques which are there. What is PMO, right? How is it going to be helpful in establishment and realizing these benefits? So these are certain benefits you will get out of this workshop. But benefits to individuals, as an individual, by the way, PGMP is no local, no India specific certification. It's a worldwide recognition of your knowledge of program management. Let me tell you, as of now, there are only 2,200 program managers across the world who are PGMP certified. And out of that, in India, it's around 150 program managers certified. There may be many program managers who are practicing project program managers, but PGMP certified program managers. So you are, if you go for this, you will be at a great advantage, right? Great advantage to go ahead, because the type of projects which are coming in India at this moment of time are no longer small, medium-sized projects. They are going to be more and more complex, more and more uncertainty is going to be more and more there. So these skills are going to be helpful to you at the right stage, at the right time, right? demonstrates proof of your professional achievement, right? Because you definitely will have an edge over others because not many are there. Improves the way you manage your large complex programs, surely. Increases your marketability within the organization or external in the world. Displays your willingness to pursue growth, increases customer confidence, and you are going to be in the elite club of program managers worldwide. Just a very brief, though I have explained it to you a bit of this, but PGMP exam perspective, certification process is going through two-part evaluation process. Unlike project management, there is only one part, but here evaluation process one is panel review. So you may or may get, you may not go ahead, right? But I mean, this is just only a word of caution. I mean, there is, I'm not scaring you here because panel review, if it is done carefully, application is filled carefully, then definitely there is no reason that anybody does not go for the and clear the panel review. And second is like PMP, multiple choice question test is going to be there, which are going to be more and more situational and scenario based questions rather than all direct questions. By the way, anybody who is going to go for the PGMP for the degree holders, they need to have 4 years of unique non-overlapping professional project management experience as well as 4 years of unique non-overlapping professional program management experience. So both the experience you need to show it in the your application, both project management experience and the program management experience. And those of you who are qualified PMP would have shown earlier the project management experience. You can show that same. But in addition to that, you need to show the program management experience also. What did you do as a program manager? This is the certification journey. You have 90 days to start with that. You just take around 10 days to complete the application. Then actually you cannot schedule the exam until you submit payment of credential fee. So you need to submit the payment. It may come under audit. By the way, actually very recently in a way they have actually shifted the audit process first. So if your application, it may come under audit. You may have to submit these audit requirements and fulfill the audit requirements by submitting the hard copy of your certificates and the experience endorsement by your manager to the PMI. But in case you don't come under audit, it will straight away go through, right? But after the audit, if they say that yes, you have cleared the audit or your application is in line with our requirements, they will ask you to pay. So payment is now next. Earlier payment was after the audit, but now audit is before, right? Then panel review may take 3 to 4 weeks, right? And after that, you will get 1 year to appear for the exam, right? And then later on, yes, like PMP, PGMP certification also you need to maintain for 3 years. Within 3 years, you need to get the 60 PDUs. So see, I am told that this is getting recorded. This is going to be there with you. You can go through these details, right? Once again, in a nutshell, application process, preparation 2 weeks, completeness review 10 days, 1 week, audit may take 2 to 3 weeks or maybe more than that, but it generally happens in 2 to 3 weeks. Panel review may take 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Sometimes it has happened in 2 weeks also. Depends on the availability of the volunteers. Many times, for example, during Christmas time, there may be that people are on holiday leave, so the panel review process may get delayed, right? But in the meantime, simultaneously, you can start preparing for the exam because I think some of you who have cleared the PMP, they know it very well that the training is just not enough. After the training will give you a pedestal platform, and after the training you need to prepare for the PGMP exam as well, right? And simultaneously, when you are filling the application, when you are submitting it, you can start the preparation. And by the time your application is cleared and passes through the panel review, you are then almost near to the giving the exam. So in overall, you can say that it's a matter of around 3 to 4 months, 3 to 4 months journey, right? And this is the fee structure for the exam. This is not the training fee. This is after the training, some of you, or rather I would say all of you after the training should aim for the PGMP credential exam. And for the member it is $800, and for the non-member it is $1,000. Computer-based test conducted by the Prometric centers, right? And you see the percentage of the questions, I just try to put in here, that is around 5 domains: strategy, program lifecycle management, benefits management, stakeholder management, and governance, right? So 15% questions are going to be coming out of 170 questions. PMP had 200 questions, but PGMP has got 170 questions. 15 questions are going to be coming from strategy, 44% questions from program life cycle, and there is a further subdivision in the initiation, planning, execution, controlling, and closing things of life cycle. Then benefits management is 11%, stakeholder management 16%, and governance 14%. So this is a fixed percentage. Definitely the questions are going to be different. What is this role delineation study? Role delineation study is actually for every credential, even for the PMP also, and similarly for the PGMP. The PMI actually conducts calls, brainstorms, have discussions, subject matter experts, volunteers. They discuss what is the role of the program manager, cutting across the industry, whether it is a pharma, whether it is a manufacturing, whether it is a aviation, whether it is telecom, insurance. In all the industries, what are the common things a program manager has to do? And that is how they came that see every program manager, while implementing successful programs, have to go through, have to ensure alignment, have to go through program life cycle, have to have focus on the benefits, have to have and manage the stakeholders, and have to be focused and take care of the governance. And one of the last slide, 4 hours test is there. By the way, 4 hours test was there in the PMP also. 15-minute computer tutorial for familiarization, that's fine. 170 MCQs, so every question will have one choice. And out of these 170, 200 are pre-test questions. These pre-test questions, actually you need not worry, because that is actually for the analysis purpose for the PMI. So you will not even come to know which are these pre-test questions. So for you, 170 questions are the questions which you need to answer, right? Questions are going to be situational, scenario based, right? They are not going to be very direct, right? And they will give you only pass or fail status with the results grade. And questions will test the program management knowledge, experience level, practical application of the concepts, and certain analytical skills. Because the program PGMP certification exam, I would say, is to me neither not easy, not very difficult. If you have got the experience and you have done certain programs which you have shown in the program management application, right? And has got certain analytical skills, etc., and has got these knowledge which will be taking you through these 13 sessions, then I think you are at home and you will aim for to be in the elite club. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am through with my this course overview. of the PGMP. I'm sure I think you would have got an insight and now that what exactly is this course all about, right? And I thank you very much once again in participating.
Yeah, here on the screen you can actually look at the schedule of all the sessions. The online masterclass series would be beginning on 18th of October, and you can actually notice that every week we are going to have two classes. With that, ladies and gentlemen, now I will request you to please key in your questions oblique inquiries so that they can be responded to.
So Mr. Sharon Kumar is asking something.